Um, as you guys know, I think the study week will start next week. So this is going to be probably our last session. So it will depend on how we are going to progress today. If you manage to go through all the items on our agenda, so that means that today should be our or would be our last session of the semester or before test 3, which is our last assessment. In case you have managed to write the 3 tests, so test 1, test 2, test 3, including the assignment. So that means you are safe unless you have missed one test amongst the 3, and then you can report for the sick test. But for now, let's just focus on test 3, which will be conducted, I think, on the 31st of May 2024. That will be on a Friday. I sent you guys an email this morning in this regard to give you the details of the test, the venues, and all those. All right, so what I have prepared for you for today is that I would like us to have a quick revision on what we have already seen or discussed, just to polish our understanding of some of the concept. I know we cannot go through all the concept. However, whatever that we're going to go through today, if you feel like there is something left out, definitely there will be some concept left out. You can still gonna come for consultation, or we can also try to see if we can have another session in order to cover those concepts that you feel like we didn't cover and you need probably extra help from there. Right. So what is going to happen this morning? I prepared a few questions that I would like us to go through them quickly. Obviously, I don't have the memo, so we're going to go through them quickly so that we can revise some of the concepts. So I'm going to share my screen. Obviously, when I'm sharing my screen, I won't be able to see if in case you want to raise up your hands, I won't be able to see. So please just stop me straight away and ask your question. So I'm going to share my screen. And remember, I sent an email this morning. I sent it yesterday, but it seems like there is a delay in terms of delivering emails, I mean, from Moodle. So there is a delay. But I sent another email this morning just to let you know that you must attend classes this week to avoid unnecessary questions when the test is or the test day is approaching. So I deliberately sent that email so that you'll be aware that it's important to attend this class in case you may need additional information or you want to ask questions. Because some of you gonna ask me, say, the test will be based on which chapter, you see. So those kind of emails that you're going to send, well, but while I have already told you that please come and attend, and you don't attend, I won't answer, I won't respond to those emails or those types of questions. So please let agree on that, because all students are required to be here and attend this session and ask questions if necessary. All right, so let me share this. I believe that you guys can see my screen. Um, so these are the few questions that I've prepared for you guys. Obviously, I also try to compile a questionnaire based on the theory that is, I believe, also going to help you in terms of studying, but you must not focus on this only. Remember, the test is based on all the chapters covered during the course of this semester. So please take that into account. All right, so let's look at the first question here. And then toward the end of the session, I can give you guys some quick update regarding the test. Let me zoom it in a bit. Right, so let's look at the first question or the first problem. Yeah, it says that a firm cleans chemical tank cars in the Bay St. Louis area with standard equipment. The firm typically cleaned 70 chemical tank cars per month. They utilized 10 gallons of solvent and 2 employees worked 20 days per month, 8 hours a day. The company decided to switch to a larger cleaning machine. Last April, they cleaned 60 tank cars in only 15 days. They used 12 gallons of solvent and the 2 employees worked 6 hours a day. And the question is saying, analyze the scenario or the situation. So obviously you guys know that this is a productivity question whereby you have the new productivity and the old productivity, or the first situation and the second situation. So you have to work that one out. And the question here is not clear. They are just saying analyze the scenario. That means you need to know the steps that you have to follow in order to analyze the scenario. First thing first, you have to calculate productivity for each of the factors that are here, and that is going to base on the first let's say standard equipment, based on what the statement is telling us, standard equipment and the new equipment or larger cleaning machine. So you're going to have those two situations. So what is going to happen in this case, if you are not really comfortable with the question, I think it's better to note down the details for each of the situations. It might be better that way. So let's say it here I'm gonna have, let me create a quick table just to insert whatever the details I need. Let's say it, here I have standard equipment. Guys, there is please, whatever that I'm writing here, please note it down, because after I'm going to delete all this. So standard equipment, and here I'm going to have, let's say, larger equipment or machine. Let's just keep it to equipment. All right, so what are the details that I need for standard equipment? Because I have to calculate the productivity for each of the factors so that I can clearly see the factors that I need. So here in this case, they say that with a standard equipment, the firm typically cleaned 70 chemical tank cars per month. So I know that the output for standard equipment here is 70 let's say tanks or cars, whatever you want to write there, still fine. All right, and they say they utilized 10 gallons of solvent. So here I have solvent. Solvent here is they say 10 gallons of solvent, and 2 employees worked 20. So we have 2 employees, number of employees. Let's say employees whereby your labor hours will be generated from. Let's say 2 employees And 2 employees worked 20 days per month. So the number of days where when the company is open is 20 days, right? So that is 20 days. 20 days. And each employee works for 8 hours. So here you have 8 hours, right? This is for the standard equipment. So for larger equipment or larger machines or machine, we have to check again the number of unit or number of tanks cleaned per month. So here the company decided to switch to a larger cleaning machines. Last April, they cleaned 60 tank cars. So here the output is 60. And only 15 days. So the number of operating days is 15 days. They utilized 12 gallons of solvent. So here solvent, you have 12 gallons of solvent. Employees, here you have 2. Yeah, and the 2 employees worked 6 hours. So you have 2 employees. Number of working hours is 6. A lot of changes. All right, so now we are going to analyze the scenario. So analyzing the scenario here, meaning that you have to identify the factors. So in this case, based on the instructions, not on the instructions, on the statement, you can see here, you're not going to calculate multi-factor productivity, right? You cannot calculate the multi-factor productivity here because you don't have all the details in order to do the conversion and, so multi-factor productivity will be left out in this case. So what you're going to calculate is single factor productivity for each of the situations, and then after you calculate productivity change. So now, again, as what I usually tell you, in this case, let me add another, yeah, let's put it that way. And let me add another row there. So here, when you check carefully based on the details that you have here, you have solvent as the first factor, and you also have employees, and you also have the number of tanks cleaned per day. Is it per day or per month? Sorry. So here, what is going to happen here? You know that the formula for productivity is the output divided by the input. So here you have your output. Output here is 70 tanks, right? 70 tanks or cars divided by the solvent. So the number of gallons used, right? I think this is per month. So here the unit here is per month, or the time frame is per month. So here divided by 10. And what are you gonna get there? So that is 10 gallons. So that is gonna give us if we take 70, sorry, 70 divided by 10, that's 7. All right, so here you have 7 tanks per gallon. Okay, obviously for online test, you just focus on this part only. You don't write the unit. So that is productivity for solvent. Let's move to productivity, employee productivity. So let's write here employee or labor if you want. So that is going to be 70 divided by, and here you must be a bit careful because now we are dealing with labor productivity. So you have to be a bit careful because there are extra details that are provided here. So that is 70 divided by, how many employees do we have here? We have 2 employees. Each employee works for 8 hours. So that is times 8 multiplied by the number of operating days, the number of days that the company is open. So that is 20. Right, so you take your calculator, and if you don't understand, if you have any questions, as I said, you can just stop me straight away and ask your question. So if I take my calculator here, I'm going to have 70 divided by 2 times 8 times 20. So that is, remember in the test, we have already gone through the instructions. They say that if nothing is said, you must take 2 decimal places. So this is the answer that we have, right? So this is the answer that we have. Let me just copy that and paste it here, right? So I have to take 2 decimal places. That is going to be 22, right? 22 tanks per labor hours or labor hour or hour simply. All right, so this is the answer for our online test. If you are requested to provide, if this is a question that is coming in an online test, so that is your answer. So let's move on to larger equipment. So larger equipment here, we have obviously we're going to start with solvent, so that is going to be 60 divided by 12. 60 divided by 12 is what? So that is going to be 60 divided by 12. That gives us 5. So that is 5. Then move on to employees or employee or labor productivity. So that is going to be 60. 60 divided by, again here you must be a bit careful. So how many employees do we have? There are 2 multiplied by the number of hours, that is 6, multiplied by the number of days that the company is open, that is 15. And you go to your calculator, so that is going to be 60 divided by 2 multiplied by 6 multiplied by 15. Close my brackets there. That is 0.33. So that is gonna give us 0.33. So the next one is, let me just I want to insert another column on the right. So here is going to be productivity change on the side. And you know that productivity change, you take the new minus the old divided by the old multiplied by 100. So that is going to be, let's do this. It's going to be 5 minus 7 divided by 7 divided by 7. Okay, I close the big bracket. Times 100. And that is gonna give us what? Let's just do that here. So that is 5 minus 7, 2 divided by 7 again, times 100. All right, so for the sake of this, or respecting the rules or the instructions, this is the answer that you have. All right. So we say that if nothing is said, take 2 decimal places. So let's just keep it to 2 decimal places to avoid any problems. Obviously, it's a negative number, so you can see there is a decrease in this productivity. So here, since you are taking 2 decimal places, so this will be the answer. Obviously, the unit here is in percentage. For online test, just leave percentage out, but you must make sure that your answer is written this way. The reason why I don't want you to write a percentage, you might make a mistake and create a space and then you write like this. I don't know, probably the system will mark you wrong, but to be safe, according to the instructions, so don't write a unit. So just provide your answer and that's it. So the system should mark you correct in case you provide this answer here. All right, so moving on to the next one, say that here you're also going to follow the same approach. I don't need to bother myself too much here, right? So I can just use the calculator and provide the answer. So that is going to be 0.33, 0.33 minus 0.22 divided by 0.22. All right, times 100. So that's 50. So the answer here is 50, right? 50%. But for online tests, just write 50. All right, so we are done with this question. Let's move on to the next one. Let's move on to this question here. Guys, if you have all this problem, if you have questions, as I said, you don't understand, it's a revision, so please feel free to ask your question. Right, so moving on to the next one. Let's look at this one. This one is quite interesting. Here, question 2, say a local university is considering changes to its class structure in an effort to increase professor productivity. The old schedule had each professor teaching 5 classes per week, with each class meeting an hour per day on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Each class contained 18 students. The new schedule has each professor teaching only 3 classes, but each class meets daily from Monday to Friday for an hour. New classes contain 40 students. Question number A. It says calculate the labor productivity for the initial situation. B, calculate the labor productivity for the scheduled change. And what is also going to guide us in addressing this question is that they have already given us the unit that you are going to use in order to express this labor productivity into. Because if they didn't give that, that was going to be extremely difficult in terms of addressing these questions. So here we know that on top you are going to have the number of students, and below you are going to have the number of hours. I think that is the starting point before even you start thinking about what you are going to consider here, right? So on top, for productivity, output divided by the input, your output are expressed in students and your input are now expressed in hours. Interesting stuff. So let's look at the first question. Or before even we look at the first question, I think it might be better to first of all understand this scenario. Let's do this. I don't know if I can create another table here quickly so that you don't use enough space. Let me do this. Let's say initial situation. Obviously here you're not going to analyze the scenario as in the first question. Here questions are specific, so you have to respond to the questions asked. So initial situation. Let's start with that one first, and then we going to see how to deal with the next situation. So here, first thing first, what are you gonna do here? Let's say we have 5 classes. So let's say 5 classes, right? And we know that the total of student for these 5 classes is what? Because they said here, the old schedule had each professor teaching 5 classes per week, with each class meeting an hour per day on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Each class contained 18 students. So you know that each class contains 18 students. So that is going to be 18 times, how many classes do we have? We have 5 classes. So that gives us what? 18 times 5. 18 times 5. Just try to find the total number of students because that is going to be our output. So that is 90 students. And this is our output of the scenario or of the situation. So we already know that our output is 90 students. That's our output. So what is gonna come next? It will be now our input. So how do you go about finding this input? Because the scenario is it's a bit confusing, right? So we need to break it down so that you can understand. So let's say the first class or class 1, the first class, let me do this. The first class will meet, because they said here, with each class meeting an hour per day on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, right? So that means the first class will meet on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So that is 3 hours. Class number 2 will also be, right, will meet on Monday, Tuesday, on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So that is again 3 hours. Just trying to break the situation or the scenario down so that we can understand. Class number 3, they will also meet on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So that is again 3 hours. 4 class or class number 4, they will also meet for 3 hours per week. And the last class will also meet for 3 hours per week. So now, how many hours do we have here? We have to find the total number of hours all these classes are going to meet per week with their professor. Right, so the total hours here, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So to find the total, you can just take 3 times 5. 3 times 5, and 3 times 5 is 15. So that is 15 hours. So we already know that this professor is going to meet with his or her student for 15 hours, right, per week. So we already have the output here, 90 students. So what you're gonna do, just to apply the formula in order to calculate labor productivity or professor's productivity, right? So here is now gonna be 90 student divided by 15 hours, and that answer will be, let me just pull this side. So that is 90 divided by 15. And the answer here is 16 what students per hour. So if you check carefully, this is what they were also telling us, that you must express your productivity answer or solution or result into student per hour. And this is what you have here. So here you have student per hour. Obviously, even if this is written between bracket for an online test, it doesn't mean that you must write your answer followed by the unit. No, this is the structure of your answer. However, when reporting or filling the blank with your answer, you ensure that the unit is excluded, right? So that's why you only write 6 in this case, right? So the answer here is 6. Right, so that is the initial situation question A. Now, moving along to the next question, which is question B. This one is the say schedule change. All right. So calculate the labor productivity for the schedule change. Again, the structure here is student per hour. Right. So let's go back to the statement again in order to try to break it down. So here they said the new schedule has each professor teaching only 3 classes, right? 3 classes, but each class meets daily. So from Monday to Friday. So let's take, for instance, class 1. Class 1 will meet for 1 hour with their professor, but that must be daily. So from Monday to Friday. So from Monday to Friday, how many days do we have there? If you count Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, that is five days, right? There are 5 days there. And each class is gonna meet for for 1 hour, right? But throughout the 5 days. So that means each class will meet for how many hours per week? Hey guys, can you hear me? Do I have any attendees there? So here, um, let's just try to break it down again, or let's just focus on the output first. So the output here is what? You need to find the output first, right? So here they said new classes contain 40 students. So we have 3 classes, so that is going to be 3 times 40. 3 times 40 is what? Let's just do our calculate. Use the calculator. It's not a big deal. So that is 120. So you have 120 students in total for the second scenario. Now we need to find the number of hours that this professor meets with his or his student per week. Let's say the first class will meet with the professor on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So that is 5 hours that they're gonna meet per week. Class 2 will also meet for 5 hours. And class 3 will also meet with the professor for 5 hours because it's 1 hour daily from Monday to Friday. So how many hours do we have in total here? We have 15 hours. 15 hours. 5 plus 5 plus 5 is 15 hours. So now this is our input. So you can easily calculate productivity or labor productivity, you know. So that is going to be 120 students divided by 15 hours or labor hours, right? So that is going to give us 120 divided by 15. That's 8. So you have 8 student per hour or labor hour, right? So this is the answer for question B. I hope you guys are getting it. It's just a matter of breaking down the scenario and understanding from your own perspective and then proceeding with your calculations. So this is what we have. And let's move on to the next question, right? Because these are the kind of scenarios. Obviously, you're not going to have a case study, right? I don't know if I have told you so. You're not going to have a case study. So it's going to be this kind of scenarios followed by questions that you need to answer to, right? So the test is almost going to follow the same approach, especially when it comes to productivity. Right. So question number 3. Let's look at this one. It said an industrial plant needs to make 100,000 parts per month to meet demand. Each month contains 22 working days, each of which allows for 3 separate 8-hour shift. So question number A or question A states that if a worker can produce 10 parts per hour, how many workers are needed on each shift? Interesting stuff. An industrial plant needs to make 100,000 parts per month to meet demand. Each month contains 22 working days, each of which allows for 3 separate 8-hour shifts. If a worker can produce 10 parts per hour, how many workers are needed on each shift? If each shift has 100 workers, what is the productivity of an individual worker? This is interesting. This is interesting. I think here we have to be very, very, very careful and try to slow down a bit and try to break this scenario down so that we can understand it. There might also be different ways of addressing this question. Please feel free to use your own ways, as long as your ways are gonna give you the same answer as probably my way, right? So let's focus on the first question, right? On the first question. So let's say I mean, based on the scenario, I just want to try to understand it as well. So one worker, do I have that right? Yeah. Okay. One worker works, I mean, can produce 10 parts. Let's try to break it down like that. 10 parts. And 10 parts per hour. This can be done in 1 hour. Right? So, in other words, for this one worker, for 1 hour, this worker can produce 10 parts or component. Awesome. In 1 hour. Now, in 8 hours, how many parts can this in 8 hours, how many parts can this one worker produce? That is what we need to understand, because these are steps, right, that you have to follow in order to reach the final answer. So 1 hour, the worker will produce 10 parts. And how many parts can a worker produce in 8 hours? Because that is one shift for that worker. So you take 8 times 10, right? 8 times 10. So this worker can produce 80 parts, right? So in 8 hours, this will be now, because 8 hours is one shift. So that is like one shift represent 1 day work for one worker. So let's say per shift, or that could also be said but per day. So 80 parts. All right, I hope we are all together. Now, they said the company is open for 22 days. Oh, no, that is not what I wanted to put there. Yeah, 22 days. So if 1 day, because here could also be, as I said, could also be 1 day. So in 1 day, 1 day or one shift, the worker or one worker is capable of producing 80 parts, right? And how many parts can this one worker produce in 22 days? So that is 22 days. How many parts could be produced by this worker in 22 days? All right, 1 day, the worker can produce 80 parts, component, and the company operates 22 days a month. So how many parts this worker can produce per month or in 22 days of operations? So here it's going to take 22 times 80. So it's gonna be 22 days multiplied by 80 parts, and that is going to give us 80 times 22. So that is 1,760. 1,760 part, let's say per month. Even if you say per 22 days, it's still fine, but you know that this is per month because the company opens for 22 days a month. So this is not our final answer, right? This is just the number of parts that the company, one worker, can produce per month. But the question is saying if a worker can produce 10 parts per hour, how many workers are needed on each shift? Because the final answer is then the number of workers per shift. That is the final answer. Here we are just building up towards our final answer in order to respond to the question. So we have this worker can produce 1,760 parts per month. So how many workers does this company need, right? Following the 10-part production per hour. So that is now going to be, you're going to take the 100,000 parts produced per month, right? So you're going to have 100,000 parts divided by the 1,760. So 1,760 parts, and that is gonna give us say 1,760 divided by no is 100,000 divided by 1,760. So that gives us sorry, I didn't see that. That gives us the number of what is coming after 81. So it's 8, so it should be 82. 82 here. So here is 82 workers. Again, this is not the final answer. This is the total number of workers for this company, right? Per month, obviously. So this is the total number of workers per month. Some might say, oh no, say there is no half people or something like that, or half of a person. There's nothing like for correction or for marking purposes, just write like that. But I know if you are presenting a report, right, for your company, you have to round it off. But here we just want everyone to provide the same answer so that the system can recognize that same answer and mark it accordingly. So here you have 56.52 workers. All right. So now this is the number of workers that this company can have in 1 month in order to produce 100,000 parts. But the question is asking us to provide a number of workers per shift, right? Or for each shift. So now what is going to happen here? You have the total number of workers. If you check the statement, they say we have 3 separate shifts. There are 3 shifts. So now what is going to happen? In order for you to find the number of workers per shift, you're now going to take this number of workers divided by the number of shifts. So here is divided by 3 shifts. And the answer that you're going to get from there will be now the number of workers per shift. So that is going to be 56.82 divided by 3 1894. So your answer here is 1894. This is the unit here is workers. Obviously, as you know, you must not write the unit. So this is the only answer that you input or you use to fill in the blank. All right, so you write 18.94, and that is the answer to question A. All right. Let me just deal with the other questions side by side. Let's do this. Insert the table. Let me insert a column on the right. Perfect. So this is question A. Let me just write it from this side. Question B, this side. Now, question B is saying if each shift has 100 workers, what is the productivity of an individual worker? If each shift has 100 workers, what is the productivity of an individual worker? Right? So you have 100 workers here. And you know that you know the total number of parts that they are capable or they are aiming to produce per month. Now, they are saying if each shift has 100 workers, so on each shift you have 100 people working there. They say what is the productivity of an individual workers? So what you're gonna do is that in this case, since you are calculating productivity, you know productivity, you have the output. So what is your output here? Your output is still 100,000 unit, 100,000 parts. So 100,000 parts, right? Divided. Yeah, now you also need to be a bit careful here. Divided by what? You have 100 workers. 100 workers. Multiplied by, I mean, each, because here it's stated that three separate, how do you call it? Three separate 8-hour shift. All right. So how many shifts here? Because you have, how do you call it? You have 100 workers. These are the number of employees, right? For one shift, right? One shift. So meaning that this is also 100 employees that a company needs to have for one shift per day, right? But how many days do we have here? How many days do they operate, right? So that is going to be 100 multiplied by 22 days. And they work for, we have how many shifts here? We have 3 shifts. Let me just write days times 3 shift. Let's just write shift there. And what is the answer? So let's just have this. That is gonna be bring it this side. So that is 100,000 divided by 100 workers times 8 times 22 times 3, and the answer here is 1.89. So that is 1.89. So if in case you are requested to write the unit, obviously that is gonna be part per what? Because it's they said what is the productivity of an individual worker. So here's almost we were looking for the number of working hours in total. So that is gonna be labor hours or hour. And this is the answer that you use in order to fill in the blank in case this question is part of the any given test. Right, so this is one of the questions, right, that you should familiarize yourself with, because you might be getting this kind of short scenarios, and then you just need to answer the questions accordingly based on that specific scenario or given scenario. Obviously, Adrian mentioned something about the house of quality, but to be honest with you, the house of quality is going to come. Those calculations that you guys know, straightforward calculations, as you saw in test 2. So those calculations, just go and practice them, especially test 2, right? And whatever we did in class and during your tutorials, practice them so that you'll be well prepared when a question on the house of quality comes, and then you'll be able to nail it. Now, in regard to the theory, I prepared this kind of questions. Obviously, some of them I provided the answers, others I didn't. So you're going to, I'm gonna share these questions with you. Obviously, I'm not gonna share this how do you call it? This response here that we just discussed together. That is also a way to penalize those who don't attend classes, because I sent an email and I said everyone must come and attend. So these are questions related to the theory, just to help you in terms of some of the concepts that you need to stress on, right, or to focus on while studying. Provided some of the answers, some I didn't, but just go through them and answer them on your own. Because once you see a question here, it's obviously related to one of the chapters that you have covered or that are in the textbook. And just go to the textbook and read that section in order to answer the question. And that also helps you in terms of understanding other related concepts, right? Because you'll be able to pinpoint the correct answers. Right? So based on what you read from the textbook. So yeah, and in case you feel like you are not quite confident, right, or sure of the answers that you have provided, right? I mean, in regard to the theory questions here, you can come and consult. You can come and see me, and then we can discuss the question together in order to agree on the possible correct answer. So that is your responsibility, right? Based on what I'm going to provide you or I have provided you. Obviously, I'm going to share this with you. Yeah, hopefully before the end of the week, I will share this. But for those who want to, for instance, see the the answers to the productivity questions, yeah, they just need to watch the recordings. I hope it's being recorded. So the other part of the calculations that I also didn't mention here in this revision is the forecasting aspect of things. So in the test, you are going to have questions on forecasting, whereby you have to calculate moving averages, right? Simple weighted moving averages. And you also will have questions on the exponential smoothing. I think that question might even have something like 15 or 20 marks, right, related to that question. So please go back and practice, try the examples that we did in class, those examples related to forecasting, moving averages, so that you can better understand the concept. Obviously, if you don't understand, or if there is a question that you are not, quite comfortable with, you can come and consult, right? Consult either with me or with the tutor before the test. And I will also advise you to consult this week, because next week I'm not sure that I will be also on campus, because you guys, I think that will be your study week or something like that. I'm not quite sure. I think next week will be your study week. So please make sure that you try to, put everything on your site and come and consult as soon as possible. All right. So as I have already mentioned in that email, the test is going to be on the 31st of May. That will be on a Friday, I think from 10 past 12, right? 10 past 12. Please don't send any email, sir. Okay, since the test is online, can I write it from home? I don't know. You see, those kind of questions. That's why I was even encouraging students to attend, to ask those unnecessary questions right here so that we can address them. Instead of sending me emails, oh no, sir, can you please send me the password of the test so that I can write it from home? I don't know. Some students are in Durban, some are in Cape Town. So it's your responsibility. And it's also the agreement between you and the university that you must come and attend classes, right? So you must be there. If you're in Cape Town or Durban, I don't know, whatever area, you must know that that is going to be a zero, because the test is conducted on campus, right? So the test will be out of 100. You're going to have 100 marks. How do you call it? Is 2 hours and 30 minutes. As you know, you can finish the test even in less than 30 minutes. But there are a lot of questions, only if you really know or you have mastered your things. So also don't be overconfident, guys. I know test two you performed very well. But don't be overconfident, right? Um, just be comfortable and be humble during the test, because if you are overconfident, you might be making silly mistakes that are going to impact your final mark. So please be humble and yeah, be on time in order to write the test. I think that's what I needed to tell you guys. Unless if you have any questions, right? Any comments to make before we close the session. Any questions? All right, it seems like everything is good. I'm glad to hear that. And let's hope that the recording will be available on Moodle so that those who did not answer the call can catch up there. Guys, again, thank you for attending, and I'll see you when I see you. I'm out.